See if this is working. Yes, it is working. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. I had huge technical difficulties there. I've got a nice studio set up downstairs with lighting and nice camera. And now you're here in my study and you can see how awful it looks. But welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for our Going Deeper live stream. We're going to spend some time just looking back at our sermon series, Alternative Facts, that we finished this morning. You can still catch up on our YouTube channel. But yeah, do say hi in the comment section below. Do say who you are and where you are watching us from. And if you do happen to have any questions in the course of this evening or the next half hour or so, just pop them in the comments. And if they're really good ones, then we'll bring them up onto the main screen. But I'm going to bring in, well, Dan and Lise, but I think it might just be Dan at the moment. So let's just see if I can add them. Oh, hi, Katie. Hello, Dan.
Hello.
Oh, this is quite good. Now you come on the screen. It's cut out some of the rubbish that was
the mess.
The mess either side of me.
We have mess here, but I've kind of just slid it all out of view. But you obviously haven't done that.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's now, where's Elise?
Elise, you may be able to see her on a baby monitor. She is putting our daughter down for her sleep at 8:05. What I think has happened is Elise has conveniently planned out the day so that she's putting, once she saw the questions, that she's putting Amelia down at this time. So don't worry, we'll save all the difficult ones for her when she comes.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming and joining us.
No problem.
I thought it'd be good to introduce you by, I thought I'd go to your Instagram descriptions. And yours says 1 John 4, verse 16, which is what?
Okay. Something maybe about love.
Yeah, God is love, yeah. And Elise's is Elise.
Just shows, who the holier, one of the two of us are.
So I didn't really glean much from those two descriptions. So do you want to say a little bit about yourself, Dan?
So my name's Dan. I'm 28. I'm a primary school teacher, and I've been at Hawley Baptist for just over 2 years, so 2.5 years. Yeah, that's me.
That's you. And you're married to Elise, and you've got a lovely little daughter. How old is your daughter?
What's the date today? 25th. She's just over 6 months now. So married to Elise, who's a nurse, and we have a little daughter called Amelia, who's just over 6 months.
Yeah. So no, that's brilliant. And we'll let Elise maybe say a little bit about herself as well. But Dan, if you could describe yourself in one word, what would it be?
Oh, in one word, trying to find a synonym for a word that laid back with a hyphen in the middle. If that counts as one. Laid back.
Laid back. That's a good one.
Laid
back. Good. Yeah. And what word would you use to describe Elise?
Oh, so many words to choose from. Wonderful. In terms of how she would describe herself, though, caring. She's very caring. She's a nurse, so you kind of have to be caring.
Yeah.
I suppose it helps.
Yeah, I suppose it does help. Yes.
Yeah.
So I might, if Elise comes along, I might ask her the same question and get you to describe you in one word and see if it matches.
She probably won't say laid back. Messy, untidy, other synonyms for that.
Yeah. I suppose that is laid back, untidy. It's kind of linked a little bit, maybe.
They are, exactly. I can't be laid back in every realm of, life, and then kind of, not be laid back at home because,
Exactly.
And I can tell, Martin, as well, that you're probably quite laid back when it comes to tidying.
No, I'm so uptight about doing my work. I never get around to tidying anything. That's my excuse.
There we
Yeah,
go.
it's fairly tidy everywhere else, just not in my study.
No.
Just nice, a few highs to people. So hi to Ian. I don't know if Linda's watching as well, but say hi to Ian. Hi to the Priors. I noticed that he said from the Priors. So does Dave watch this, Katie? Because he watched Line of Duty when we're doing our Friday night worship. So not too sure how to take that one really. But hi Neil and Angie. Hi Jackie. Hi Helen. Hi Jenny, my wife, who's in the other room. Yeah, and welcome. We were going to have the trailer for our last sermon series, but we've had some technical difficulties. I've had to swap computer and go upstairs. Hopefully, I'm not keeping the kids awake in here.
You'll soon find out, I'm sure.
Tidy on his desktop, but not necessarily his desk, my wife says. Yes, my actual computer is fairly tidy, but no, not anything outside of the computer. So, Dan,
yes,
we're going to have a little chat about our latest sermon series, Alternative Facts. And that phrase, alternative facts, comes from a lady who worked for the Trump administration. She was sort of their media liaison. And when it came to Trump's inauguration, Donald Trump said that he had a far bigger crowd than Barack Obama, which wasn't true. And when the news tried to say that actually that wasn't the case, she accused them of having alternative facts. In other words, they were trying to create a story that didn't match up with the story that they were trying to create. And in our first sermon series, we picked up on this idea of stories, that actually the world tells us different stories about life and about who we are, about faith and stuff like that, that it asks us to sign up to and agree with. And Dan, I just wonder, you're just a couple of years younger than me.
Yeah, a few.
But just a few. But, you know, culturally, you're a different generation. You've experienced different things. I just wondered, what are some of the stories that you feel culture has tried to sell to you? And maybe you have taken them up as your story, or have done in the past. Have you got any examples?
I think in later life, I mean, as in the kind of the stage that Elise and I are at now, you know, is the idea of success and what success is. And, you know, I think I've, you know, it's quite apt that, you know, your sermon series was kind of, you know, it's been linked to that last couple of weeks, because, yeah, at a time where, you know, we've now got a family and we wanted to do things like, you know, potentially move to a bigger house and, you know, that sort of stuff. And I actually had we met up with the with like a mortgage broker last week, having this kind of idea in our head of what they'll say we can afford, and then what we'll buy, and etc. etc. We left feeling very deflated, because essentially the mortgage broker said that this is what you'll be able to afford, and, you know, looking at kind of prices in the Hawley area, you know, we're not going to be able to move for you know, a while. And that really got to us. And, you know, we have 2 bedrooms, we have, you know, plenty of space, to be honest. And, you know, it's kind of just buying into that, you know, that, you know, what we need, and but, you know, so and so has this and so has that, and they're younger than us and they've got a 4-bedroom town, we have a 2-bedroom flat. And I guess, you know, buying into this idea of, you know, always of what success is. And, you know, success is having, you know, being married, first of all, that, you know, if you're not married, then, you know, your life's a write-off, or then it's having kids, and it's having a good job, and then having a mortgage and buying a place, and then, you know, all this sorts of things that you kind of buy into. And every now and then I kind of have to pull myself out of that, you know, actually in the scheme of things in the world, you know, we're, you know, in the top however many percent, you know, of wealth or whatever, you know. And, you know, the temptation is to always look up and look at what you don't have, and actually, you know, large parts of people in the UK and in all over the world would, you know, chew their own arm off to be able to have, you know, own a flat, own a house, to be able to have a car. So, you know, every now and then we have to kind of reel it in and remember, what's really important. That it's not those things, that it's not material possessions whilst they're nice. It's the fact that we're safe, and we have a community around us. We don't have to worry about where the next meal's coming from, and it's really easy to forget about all that and just kind of be driven to this idea of a successful life is X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. You sound like you're trying very hard to persuade yourself, but it's easy to get caught up in this idea, like you said, success and getting a mortgage, buying a house, getting married, having children, having grandchildren. For me, it's getting prepared for my pension, which, I'm still 25 years off that, but you might as well get ready for when you retire. And it's that picture of what retirement might look like. So I'm in a slightly different stage of life to you, but it's so easy to get caught up in that. How does that affect, do you think, the rest of your life, and how you feel about the life that you live, not just the possessions you have? How do the possessions you have or the possessions you want affect the way that you feel about life and what you do?
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard one. I think that, suppose I woke up tomorrow and decided I wanted a complete change in career, and I wanted to, I guess when you've got, as a teacher, that's a really stable job, and you can do it anywhere in the country, and it's safe, and it's got a good pension and everything like that. And you kind of, if in 5 years' time I thought to myself, actually, I'm not sure I still want to teach, and even if I felt led to go and do something else, charity work, or even, I always thought it'd be really cool to work in Cineworld and just be able to watch, movies all day,
I get that feeling. Yeah,
sure. I don't think I'd let myself, it's, and sometimes I guess you can kind of feel trapped when you've got things you're paying for and a mortgage. You kind of, you kind of feel that okay, I enjoy teaching. Who knows whether I'll enjoy it in 5 years or not? Hopefully I still will. But if I don't, I'll feel somewhat trapped. So I think that's it. It kind of, in every, and that's something. Yeah,
I remember, because I left teaching when I was 29. 29. And I remember I had quite a few colleagues who were probably about my age now, so in their 40s, and they were really envious of the fact that I was changing careers, because they felt like they were stuck and unable to move on, whereas I was going off and going back to college, and they were really envious of that. I'm just going to pick up Fred. Now, Fred's from a very different generation. Fred, I'm not going to guess your age, but you're definitely well into your retirement. He says, we weren't influenced by that junk. Let's just see if I can put this up. So we had no TV, no phone. Our mortgage was based on one person's salary. When the girls arrived, that's Kath, gave up her job. That's very, very different. How do you think life for you, and for me as well, is different to Fred, who maybe was at your stage 50 years ago?
Sure. And if you keep that up there, I can start to look at it. I mean, thank you. I mean, for one, anyone would do incredibly well to be able to get a mortgage on one salary today. And as much as Elise would love to be full-time mummy, should be amazing at it. That's, sadly, to have, to be able to live in a flat, it wouldn't really work. I think, house prices then were, my grandmother is probably a similar age to Fred, bought her house for, something like £8,000, and now it's worth, £480,000 or something. Whereas, that's not the case anymore. I don't think, on my salary alone, we wouldn't be able to do that. So I think that's quite different.
Yeah.
For starters.
I mean, Fred says I'm 82. There you go. I'm 82.
There you go.
Jen, my wife says, since getting married and having children, I naturally want the best for them. I regularly have to remind myself to entrust those most precious things to God. Do you think there's been a shift in your feeling around these things since your daughter since Amelia came along?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're responsible for someone else now, and we want to give her the best possible life that we can, and and that's not I'm not sitting here saying that to have a really good life she needs her parents to own a house or own this or own that. Ultimately we want to be around for her as much as possible, even at the expense of nice holidays and nice things and stuff like that. Ultimately we want to do right by her, and yeah, but definitely, because at least I can't just decide on a whim to get rid of everything we have and emigrate somewhere else, because we have Amelia to factor into everything now. So yeah, it's and as well, added pressure of your outgoings. I mean, the amount of that nappies cost is extortionate. Probably buy a second property on the amount we spend on nappies alone. But hello.
Hi. Is that Elise?
It's arrived.
Cool. Hello, Elise. Welcome.
Hello.
Has she gone down? Is she asleep?
She is. I just need to charge the monitor.
Have you been watching, Elise, or have you not got a clue what we've been talking about?
No, I have no clue.
Okay, so we've been talking about the different stories, different narratives that culture tries and sells us, and we've been talking around this idea of success. And success is getting married, having children, getting a mortgage, buying a house, and it's quite difficult if we compare ourselves to other people, don't we? And and find ourselves wanting, and there's always someone better to compare ourselves with. So we'll park that one up just for a moment. Elise, I said I would ask you a question when you came in, because I asked Dan to use one word to describe himself.
Okay.
What words first of all, what word do you think he chose, and what word would you choose?
For me or him?
For Dan.
For Dan.
No clues, Dan.
I think you'd say that you are.
Line of Duty's on at 9. Come on.
Caring.
Caring. Well, that's what he said about you.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice.
What would you say about Dan? So that's what you think he said about himself. What would you say he is?
I'd say selfless. Yeah.
Selfless. Oh, yeah. This is sickening. It really is. He said laid back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you're thinking of like your best quality, you wouldn't be like, oh yeah, laid back, because you're not really.
Now, I like your top, Tired Mums Club.
Oh yes.
Now, Elise,
Yeah.
So, Dan said success. That's one of the stories that he feels he's kind of signed himself up to, or culture is trying to sell. What about you? Is there any kind of stories, narratives that culture is trying to sell you that you should be following?
I guess probably within my career, I think so I'm a nurse, and I think it's one of those things when you join a profession, I think it's very easy to kind of, especially if you're young, to kind of think, oh, I'm here to climb the ladder, and do it as quickly as possible or as efficiently as possible, do everything I can to get there. And I think within nursing, I think that can happen quite a lot. And I think often a lot of us younger guys can kind of feel the need to kind of, just keep climbing the ladder to try and get as senior as possible and lots of learning experiences. And you can get really caught up in that. And I think I was getting that way before we'd kind of spoken about, but before we were planning on trying to have a baby, that I could feel myself getting swept up into that. But actually, the more I thought about it, the more I kind of thought, actually, I don't think that's what I need to be doing. And I don't think that's what, God is telling me to just keep going. I think that's just what we've, just being in those environments and wanting to learn, like being a person who, nursing is just so me. It's the career I'm supposed to be in, I can tell. And I know that that's where he's put me, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I need to just keep on going. I think that's definitely something that is like, we always kind of, people are always praised for, promotions and things like that. And actually, people who have been in the same role for many years, that comes with its struggles and achievements too. So I guess but yeah, I think work is probably my easiest one.
Yeah. So success is success in different ways. It's success in terms of your career and success in terms of the fruits of your career, I would imagine, which is your nice car, your nice house, all those trappings of being successful.
Yeah.
What do you think the Christian counter to that is? Is it we need to get rid of all our possessions? We shouldn't plan for the future. We shouldn't have a pension. We should just trust in God. What do you think is the Christian counter narrative, alternative story to that idea of success?
I mean, I think it's not wrong to have money, be wealthy. Is one thing. I think God calls us to be stewards of our wealth, and it doesn't explicitly say that you cannot be wealthy, but particularly in the Bible, Jesus is quite harsh on those who he thinks that money has become an idol. And it's I guess that there is a fine line between having nice things and having wealth and all these sorts of things, and then it's not sin to be ambitious, maybe to want nice things, but then is it at the expense of something else, and are you treading on others to get those things? And as well, I think we're called to steward our wealth, and we're called to to be generous and stuff like that. So I guess.
Do you think there's a danger that we're only generous when we feel we've got enough?
100%.
Yeah. And is that? I'm just trying to unpack. You talk about idol, which I think is a really, really good way of phrasing it. Actually, what has become an idol? And there's lots of things in our life that have become idols. If money, success, and possessions is an idol, how is that wrong? What is the bad fruit of that?
So our main focus shouldn't be on anything else other than our main focus should be on God, and that should be what we look to. We shouldn't look to money for security or for comfort or for our happiness or anything like that. It's actually got to come from him directly. And I think it's easy to think that it's either or in what you're saying, but actually, God works in like great and amazing ways. And, actually we've had people who were able to support us in buying our flat. And they wouldn't have been able to do that if they were kind of, just living off the land or nothing else type thing. and actually, you know, that's not necessarily people who are sat there swimming in cash. That's people wanting to do something and feeling like it's, you know, the right thing to do, the good thing to do, and acting on it. I think that's what it is. It's, you know, it's not just about money, it's about your time. And even when you feel like your you know, your time is so valuable, actually that's something as well that you can, you know, you can give people that and be, you know, really showing love and showing your identity in Christ in doing so.
Yeah, I mean, that idea of being generous, I think is really important, because I think maybe a symptom of possessions and money and wealth being an idol is that we become less generous. Because like you said, money is not a problem. If those friends of yours didn't have the money, then they wouldn't be able to help you. They couldn't be generous with it.
Yeah.
But if you know, in Matthew, it says, Jesus said, do not worry. Well, actually, we do worry about money if that's where we're getting our looking to that as our source of happiness and comfort and security, and we're unable to be generous with what little we may have. And maybe I think, well, I'll be generous when I have got this sort of money, when I've got this under my belt, when I've got that promotion, when I've got that, we move into our bigger home, then I can be generous. And generous can be all sorts of things. It can be giving to the poor, it can be given to friends, it can be given to the church. I mean, they talk about millennials being the least likely generation to give to charity.
Wow.
Yeah, and you two are millennials. I'm not. I'm too old. Wow. Do you think that's a surprise? That actually,
it surprises me. I think because of like a few things. Like, I think our generation is known for kind of being a bit more of like not airy fairy. That sounds really. That's not what I don't mean that.
I agree. Yes.
I feel like so millennials are probably more clued up, even that, are more sympathetic to social justice issues than perhaps their predecessors. And I think that kind of trend is continuing. I think, you know, what's the generation after millennials? Gen Z.
Yeah.
You know, I think people becoming more and more, you know, aware of social injustices and you know, things like saving the planet and helping people and helping others. So I think, that kind of does surprise me. Slightly.
I mean, what you often see is that sort of generation will be a lot more vocal. Maybe they'll go and do, get placards and do other stuff. But it's interesting they're not giving their money, and maybe that's because, as well as there being a rise in social justice and an emphasis in that on culture, also there's a big emphasis on possessions and having stuff. So so big contrast between your generation and Fred's generation. There's a lot more that you can spend your money on. Internet subscriptions, Netflix,
and it's a lot easier as well, you know, having the internet, having contactless. You know, I remember contactless, you know, money doesn't even seem real. You know, I bought a pair of jeans for £30 5 years ago. I was seeing the £10 or £5 notes. I'll be thinking, do I really need this jeans contactless, or if only just tap it and it doesn't even feel like spending anything. It's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And you know, you used to have to only buy what you could afford, what you had the money to buy. Now you can put it all on credit. And I wonder if that's why we're seeing this discrepancy, where we've got a generation that really has strong principles around social justice and yet isn't willing to give money to it. They maybe give time and commitment to it, but not money, because increasingly possessions, material stuff is
more value.
A lot more value. They want it. They need to be able to keep up. You know, for me, it used to be trainers. I never had. I done lot. My mum wouldn't buy me nice trainers, but you know, I do buy them now. It's a shame you can't see trainers in this live stream. Well, I did see one recently where he had all his trainers on a shelf behind. So when he does stuff like this, you see all his trainers. But yeah,
that's not what they're for.
No, it's just to show off. You don't wear them.
Oh no.
Well, my wife says people sell on eBay before those items may have been handed down or given to charity. That's a good point. There's a huge resale, isn't there, of people selling stuff rather than giving it to charity, which is interesting. Yeah,
that's very true.
So how does we've got a few more minutes, and I just want to, how does your faith impact you personally in terms of, how does it challenge you in terms of your possessions and your generosity and the way you interact with culture and the way that you see culture influencing you? There's lots of questions there all tied up in one, but see how you get on.
I think for me, just remembering that, you know, my identity is not as it's not what I work, it's not as provider, it's not even necessarily as a, you know, it is as a father, as a husband, etc. But you know, ultimately it's as a son of God, and as a, you know, a lover of Jesus, and that, you know, as long as that kind of stays at the top, everything else, you know, that should impact everything else, and everything else should kind of, you know, trickle down like a, you know, top-down approach. So, you know, I just have to keep reminding myself that, yeah, that my identity is in Christ, and regardless of, you know, who I am, or regardless of how I feel about myself, and any kind of how I feel I am as a husband, or as a dad, or as a colleague, or as a sportsman, or whatever, that ultimately I'm a son of God, and God loves me, and God knows me intimately and still loves me. And then, you know, from that you get the confidence to, you know, that, you know, everything else, you know, I could change a nappy badly and think, oh, I'm a rubbish dad. I could be really patient with Elise, you know, and be never. And I could think, oh, I'm a terrible husband. I could, you know, teach a really rubbish lesson and think, oh, I'm a terrible teacher. But, you know, all of those identities can waver and fluctuate, and you can feel amazing one minute and then terrible the other. But as a son of God, that doesn't change. God's love for me doesn't change, so I'll always be a son of God, and that's my identity, and that will never change. His love for me will never change. And once you kind of hold on to that and remember, you know, that, you know, every aspect of my life I could be failing, but the one thing that matters, I can't change. I can't make myself not a child of God. I can't make Jesus not make Jesus love me. Yeah. So that's, for me, that, you know, helps me to
because identity is important. It is important that you're a father or a mother. It's important that you're a man.
Of course,
it's important, but primarily the most important thing is the fact that you're a child of God, and you're loved and accepted for that, regardless of anything else. How about you, Elise?
I guess I think it's the kind of knowing that actually all we really need is him. And I think it's easy to fall into the kind of the thought process of, oh, I need all these things. You know, I need to have the perfect job, or I need to have the perfect house, or all these different things. But actually, I think a lot of the time I have to kind of give myself a bit of a talking to if I'm kind of having a bit of a kind of one of those moments of like, oh, you know, will we be able to get a house one day, or will we be able to do one of, you know, any of these things? But actually, I think reminding myself that I'm exactly where I should be. It's all of that is because of him. The reason we're in this position is because of him. And if we weren't following God, and if we weren't, you know, if we weren't believers and we weren't doing as we felt that he is guiding us to, I don't you know, I really don't believe we would be, you know, as fortunate as we are. And not that I think having faith gives you things, but actually I think just being, you know, following that path and sticking to what he is saying, I think you're more likely to, I don't know, I think you can have, and anything can happen in your life, and you know, you really don't know, you know, it's not to say that you're going to have a rosy life just because, you know, of our belief, but actually having him there throughout all of it makes the process so much easier. And you know, whether we do get a house one day or we don't get a house one day, we'll still be happy and content, but we just won't, you know, we just won't have a house, and that'll be fine. And I think it's like just coming to realization that that isn't what matters, and actually our end destination is. But you know, you can't just sit there and dwell the whole time. And I think, you know, these things may seem important, but they're just not. And I think we just have to redirect ourselves back to the kind of the bigger picture. And I think that's always, in any sense, that's always what we need, isn't it, really?
Yeah. I mean, my wife says, enjoy the journey whilst heading to the destination. And the Apostle Paul talked about being content in all circumstances.
Yeah.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it? Where actually I'm content.
Yeah.
Where I am now, I'm not worrying about what the future holds. I'm not worrying about the bigger house or the bigger car or whatever. I'm just going, I'm looking at what I've got now. I'm thanking God for the blessings that I've got.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm happy with that. I would love that. I have to admit, I haven't got that. But we need to pray for that, don't we? To have that contentment.
Definitely.
Otherwise, the future becomes an idol in itself, and the things that we could have, and we pursue those things rather than pursuing God.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, guys,
for no worries
time this evening to join us. It's been excellent. And just to all you who are watching, thank you so much for tuning in. Do like, share, and subscribe. That would be amazing. And this Sunday we've got a new teaching series called Grand Designs, not to be confused with Channel 4. But we're looking at what church is, a who, what, where, and why, or how, or something like that of church. So that'll be starting next Sunday. But yeah, good to see you. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Elise. Thank you.
Take care. Have a good week, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.